Say hi to everybody so you can be on television. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. Say, look how I'm growing. Growing. See, I'm almost big.
Girl.
See, I'm almost big enough to think about going to school. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let Papa do his video now. Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to those people who went to South Bend yesterday in Indiana to stand up for our rights as Christian people. Those who support our next president, Donald Trump. And for standing in and for giving a voice, you know. My speech on Facebook today was about atheists and people like that. They don't look to give us a voice, the Christians. Those people don't look to see what our needs are at all, but you know, our constitutional right as Christians is being attacked on every side, and even the media, the liberal media, doesn't like our Constitution. They keep tearing at the edges of it. And this is what I said about it. When atheist liberals attack our Constitution, they're destroying the platform on which they stand, not knowing only God can create such a document that will equalize men, which He has made. In the history of the U.S., it has always been the Christian who looked to give others a voice. Since when has the atheist looked to give the Christian a voice? Or Muslim looked to give Christian a voice? Or liberals in the past 50 years look to give Christians a voice? Not going to happen. In the past, given in any situation, the government they want always leads to execution of gays, Christians, Jews, and people who have money or are successful, and the right of the common people always looks to extinguish that. You know, the ones who Hillary Clinton is always looking to take out. Anyways. Standing on your right. So I'm saying I am so proud of those people. But you know, anything that you want in God, man, you have to stand strong in it. When the Lord told Moses that he was going to be leader over his people, Moses didn't hop into position the next day. Same thing with King David. King David waited a long time, fought his way to the top. Fought his way. It looked like sometimes that he was going to be abandoned by the whole country, just like we are today, Christians, just like we are today. But the Lord has said to me, stay strong, Christians. You'll come out and you'll shine again. You'll stand in the sunlight again, even as you have before. You will stand in the sunlight. So says this prophet of God. Listen to what I'm saying. So says this prophet of God, according to Amos 3:7. Alrighty? We need to have faith. Moses, 40 years he waited. 40 years. He tried to push himself in, but it wasn't God's time yet. King David, I'd imagine he tried to step up a couple times and take the throne, but it wasn't his time yet. He didn't try to step in and take the throne from him who had it, because he was still God's anointed. But there was times when it looked like David was just thinking, man, I just wish this was over. I just want this to happen. You know what I mean? I've thought so many times the same thing. So many times have I thought, Lord, just come back and end this mess. You know, boy, men have messed this place up. They've really messed this place up. Jesus was asked by a ruler of the synagogue here in Luke 8. Luke 8, down about 41, verse 41. Luke 8:41. The story is also in Matthew 9:8. 18 and Mark 5:21. Okay, and he was coming down, and this guy from the synagogue. Now listen to what he did. This was a desperate man, just like us, desperate today, looking to the things that we need from God, because it seems like the devil has just almost totally destroyed everything we are as a Christian. And this was a man, Jairus. This was a man, Jairus by name. And come and check this one, see if it's still going. And he was desperate. Now this was a ruler of the synagogue. That means he was one who previously had looked at Jesus as he was one that was trying to destroy what he believed. It's kind of like the Cruz and the Trump voters of today, looking at each other like we're trying to destroy what they believe in. Actually, they're both about the same thing, just like in the day with Jairus and Jesus. You know, they were actually both about the same thing. So when Cruz came, when Jairus came and fell down, yeah, that was a little pun there, at Jesus' feet, and besought him that he would, no, I didn't. I don't think I meant Jesus, Donald Trump as being Christ. No. I did not mean that at all. But I do look for a day when Cruz will look back and say, man, I messed up, you know. Anyways, this man who was previously so much against what he was about, besought him that he would come to his house, for he had a great need. His daughter, about 12 years of age, she was dying. And he went and asked Christ. And the Bible says, but he was thronged when he went through the people. And then there was a woman with the issue of blood. And the Lord took care of her first. And here's what I'm saying. Christ was taking his time about getting to the task. He was taking his time about getting to the task that he had been asked to do. And of course, he went through the "Who touched me" thing, and the Lord turned and looked at her and said, "Your faith has made you whole." And he said, "Be of good comfort, thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace." And the Bible says in verse 49, while he yet spake, there comes one from the synagogue, saying, from his house, saying to him, "Thy daughter is dead. Trouble not the master." But when Jesus heard it, he answered him, saying, "Fear not, believe only." And you know, God doesn't have to be rushed. I mean, it's not a thing that we have to hurry about doing it. You know, that's what I wasn't getting so anxious. Now, I wanted to go to South Bend. I really did, but work got in my way. But I knew this. The best statement that I could make is my vote today, May 3rd, my vote today. And Christ is saying, have faith. Only believe. Only believe. Fear not. Christians, stop fearing because of the situations around you. All is not lost. All is not lost. There are some Christians out there who are asleep. Some of them are asleep because, well, I'm not asleep, but when you trust God, you can relax, you know. They don't worry about it. I heard one today tell me, it don't matter if we vote. It matters if you vote. They may cheat you here and take your vote away, but it matters in heaven. Your opinion will count on Judgment Day in heaven. You can stand there before God and say, I voted for the one who I thought would do you the best justice. And truthfully, if you did, you won't even have to say that. He'll say it for you. Okay? And it just seems like, you know, it's just like with Lazarus, 4 days late. You know, but he stood before that tomb. And he said, Lazarus, come forth. You know what? Somebody said once, if he had just said, "Come forth," all the graves in the world would have opened up and they would all walked out. You would have had, you talking about a population explosion. I wonder how scientists would have explained that. Oh, they would have thought, they would have figured something out, you know. A baby boomer. Okay. All the men on earth, they could have, if they would have had 100 wives and they all would have had 100 children, it wouldn't have counted for a population explosion like that. But yet that's going to happen somewhere in the future, and we're all going to go into heaven when the Lord does say that. Just come forth. I can almost hear those words now. And this is what happened with Jairus' daughter. Okay. And he said, "Fear not, and she shall be made whole," the Lord said. You know what? He wasn't fearful about speaking what was coming, even though it looked, you know, everybody, they must have giggled and laughed and said, oh, he don't know what he's talking about. This woman, what's he going to do, raise the dead? You know? Little did they know. "And when he came into the house, he suffered no man to go in, save Peter, James, and John, and the father and mother of the maiden." And, you know, because of unbelief. Unbelief, it hinders God. It's the only thing that can hinder God, unbelief. "And all wept, and all bewailed her. But he said, Weep not, for she is not dead, but sleepeth. And they laughed him to scorn, knowing that she was dead." That's what I'm saying, see? It hinders God. "And he put them all out, and took her by the hand, and called, saying, Maid, arise. And her spirit came again, and she arose straightway." You know, Jesus, the Lord here, he was in a fighting mood. You know? I mean, he was ready to pick him up and pitch him out. You know, I can just imagine this. There was a lot of times in the Bible, if you read it correctly, how Christ had to constrain himself. You know what he could have done? Man, he could, like the Mount of Transfiguration, he could have poof and just wiped them all out. And I'm tired of these unbelievers, you know, but he didn't do that. He constrained himself. And he commanded them to give her meat. And her parents were astonished. But he charged them that they should tell no man what was done, because it wasn't his time yet. He had to keep a low profile so the people wouldn't take him and make him king. Okay, and you know what? We, as men, we look to prophesy. We look to account ourselves with something. But I know preachers who the Lord raised a child, and then the whole rest of their career, that's all they did was talk about that one thing. And they ran their whole ministry on one incident, when if they had just kept quiet, God would have lifted them up and caused them to be 10 times greater. 10 times greater. Elisha said of Elijah, "I would have a double portion." And that's exactly what we'll get if we just trust God, if we will have faith, and if we will only believe. Alrighty, God bless you. Thank you for joining. We'll see you again next time. Another great message right here across in the middle ministry. Only believe.